Hello, we're here today to talk about planting in fall. And planting in fall can be something that is actually really beneficial for plants. The main reason we talk about planting in fall is because there's one big advantage, and that's about the roots. Once the air temperature cools down and the soil temperature is warmer than the air temperature, plants start to send all of their energy towards rooting and building new robust root systems. So that means they're not really putting energy towards growing leaves or stems or anything like that. And that can really set you up for a successful planting that you'll really see the next spring. So we're at a residence in South Minneapolis, and where we are is kind of a south sun exposure, so it does get a lot of sun throughout the course of the day. And we're just gonna plant to help beautify this path, as well as help with wildlife and pollinators. So we've finally chosen a location to plant. We're gonna use this shrub to help screen a little bit from the street, as well as screen this utility box right here. This shrub won't get too tall, so it'll fit perfectly in this spot. This is an American highbush cranberry, but a compact variety of it, so it'll fit nicely with this landscaping. When you choose a location, it's really good to think about light and water regime, so think about that before you do it. But we think it's gonna work out really well right here, so we're gonna go ahead. The first thing you do before you plant is to clear away whatever might be on top of the soil there. Like in this instance, there's mulch, so we're gonna pull back some of the mulch to try and get down to a layer that actually has landscaping fabric. So if you don't have landscaping fabric, this isn't something you need to do, but if you do, it's really good to cut through it. I'm just gonna use a box cutter here, and I'm gonna cut into a nice X to try and make it easier to make a hole in there and pull it back a little bit. And then what you wanna do is try to dig a hole roughly the size of the plant you're planting, so something around this size, maybe a little bit bigger than that, and you pull that dirt back and you move it to the side because you're going to need some of it to kind of fill in around. So once you've got a hole that you feel comfortable with, what you want to do is try to gently pull out the plant from the pot that it's in. And in some cases, you might end up with roots that are really wrapped around. This is called being root bound. And so what you want to do is try to tease them out a little bit more so that the roots are kind of hanging more freely and are less wrapped around themselves. And this can really help them reach further into the soil after you've planted them. So it's kind of loosened up a bit. And then what you want to do is plant the plant into the soil roughly at soil height. So you don't want it below the height of the soil and the fabric, because that can really lead towards mulch and dirt getting up around the base of the plant. And what you want to do then is kind of fill in gently around there so that it sits nice and perfect and flush with the soil. And then once you've kind of got enough dirt in there, you gently sort of tamp it down. You might need a little bit more soil here. And you can always do a little bit of a tug test where you just gently sort of pull on it, and that might not be tamped down enough, so I'm going to push a little bit more and add a little bit more soil so that the base of the plant or the shrub is right at that soil height and in there snugly. And what we're going to do next is put some of the mulch around it. Mulch is a really helpful tool for helping with new plantings. Specifically as it gets colder, it helps keep those roots nice and warm as the temperatures start to drop. It also helps retain soil moisture to make sure that the roots stay moist as they start to establish further. And when you add mulch, you really want to try to get it almost all the way up to the base of the plant without mounding up over the plant. So kind of a volcano or something like that. And then making sure that it's not too piled up around it. So this is about right, just a little bit of mulch right around the base and then kind of in a mound around it. Another benefit to planting in fall is that there are fewer weeds and insects to deal with. Because other plants are kind of going to dormancy at that point, there's fewer weeds that are also competing with your plant for the same resources. They're also not growing vegetation at that point, so it kind of helps them get ahead of weeds for next year as well. And there are just fewer insects that might feed on the leaves that are already growing. So after we've mulched, one more thing we want to do is water the plant. Watering the plant right after helps the roots really settle into the ground, and it helps them start their growth process. Using around a half gallon to a gallon for a new shrub or tree is a good idea. And actually, watering is another benefit of planting in fall. You need to do less of it because there's less heat that is stressing out your plant, And typically there are more rains in fall as well, so that's another benefit to it. So we're just going to add some water here, gently around the base, kind of surrounding area. All right. So we've watered our plant, we've put it in the ground, and it's been a really great experience. And that's one last benefit to planting in fall, is that it's just not as hot and it's more enjoyable, and it really gives you something to look forward to for next spring. So we finished planting our shrub, and we've got a couple of other native plants that we want to get in the ground today before it rains. If you're interested in learning anything else about native plants or fall yard care, please visit our website at mwmo.org and make sure to like, share, and subscribe.